They're coming into a best of one. They're coming into a map they don't play all that often. They're coming in off the back of some really sketchy form of late. If Wisla just come out the blocks absolutely flying, if they come in all guns blazing and NiP are just a little bit slow to it, this one could get really, really close.
I think it could, and we've even seen some of the other members of Talent picking Wisla here. I know Dinko thinks that Wisla are going to be able to get the win. Let's see if they can do it. We are underway in Katowice here on the C stream. We will be getting underway with NiP on the T side, and we already have some dualies out for the pistol, Wolfie.
Oh, the dualies. Discussion that rages on in the scene as to whether they're good or garbage, but it's going to be the early A site hit. Sobble for now isolated. He does have support in Snatchy, but stuck behind the smoke. Rez does well to isolate the initial fight. Plopsky chiming in with one of his own, and that's the A site completely taken. 3-on-5 retake early on for Wisla. It just doesn't feel even remotely viable, Goofy. This is where the Julies really start to come undone, just spraying and praying at the moment to see if anything could be connected. But Fuzi playing it smart, tucking behind those big boxes, waiting for his chance and taking it well. 3 becomes 2, and this is just slowly but surely falling apart. A single frag for Jedka, but that's the round done, and a smooth start for NiP.
I love the pace set by NiP early too. That is almost like them saying, we are the big dogs in the yard. We're going to do what we want. They come in with an instant split onto A. That is something that's very viable in those pistol rounds when you get the solid utility in place. And the main thing that NiP would have wanted here is to stop that strong start from Wisla that could snowball out of control. It looks like they should have denied that early unless they fall to the Ds.
Not taking any risks either. AK's Galil. Sobble has got himself onto a ratty little angle, though. Doesn't expect S-Tag up close, and almost immediately you can see NiP know that's the A-site control loss. So as they barrel out of long, nobody here to contest. The only Wisla player who's even close is Jedka, stuck in Donut as the utility again keeps this CT side on an absolute lockout. Rez is a little isolated, so potentially a fight to be had here, but oh, Snatchy, that experience not quite coming through. Turns away at the worst possible moment, and again, it's a 3-on-5. You've lost the A site. This time your pistols against rifles, and well, the only choice Wisla have is to save. Try and hold on to some of that armor, hold on to the deagles, a handful of smokes as well, and hope you can maybe get a couple of frags in the next.
Not the ideal start for the hometown team here. Fortunately for the Poles, they will have to concede a second round. He is sticking around though, and that's a nice shot from Spiro. He'll take that all day long. This has him locked in, and will take away one more gun. Actually looking for a gun. Oh, he's not going to get the Galil, but he's going to get an exit kill. So even trades, really. I think NiP will be okay losing that one gun. They've still got plenty of cash. I think something to watch out for is definitely NiP grouping up earlier in rounds, like they did there. A lot of their issues, I feel, on the T side previously came from just spreading out into defaults and losing picks. And I think since DJL has joined as the coach of this roster, they seem a lot more willing to group earlier in rounds. So definitely something worth keeping an eye on. Here against the pistols, they can probably just default and look for the frags.
Just play the simple CS. Bleed out what little utility that CT side have been able to scrounge into this one. Just the one HE left with 1:25 left on the clock. Ooh, Goofy, nasty little wallbang angle to the left there. Rez and Fuzi very nearly lining up. Close to within a one-shot for these Deegs as well, so they've got to be a little bit careful about it now. A little isolated in towards that B lane, a little more aggressive than perhaps you would like. Meanwhile, the mid-execute does start to come in, smoke towards snipers, molly into the cubby to start clearing their angles. But again, they haven't thinned the numbers early. All 5 players still up for Wisla, 2 players within a one-shot for the Deeg. Rez now down to 1 HP. It is going to be the A site again, though, and Jedka once more finds himself desperately isolated. Rez and Fuzi, despite taking damage, have managed to keep 4 of these CT players busy. And with the rotation only just now coming through, Wisla, they find themselves completely conceding the A site to these rifles. Hampus already staring deep into CT as Jedka remains grey-screened inside of the smoke of Temple. This is really starting to look awkward. Snatchy brought down low. Jedka is still just waiting, hoping that he can catch a timing with 20 seconds left, but finally he's cleared. And as quickly as it looked promising, it starts to fall apart for the CT side. 4 quick kills, despite the early damage, not really finding any kind of purchase. And Sparrow once more just hoping that maybe he can nab himself an exit, but S-Tag's got a nasty little angle to deal with him.
Didn't look too bad there, but as you pointed out, just every fight going the way of NiP. Leaving the bomb behind left it a little awkward, but you know they're going to be confident winning those fights. Now we get the first gun round out, though, and now we get that first chance for Snatchy to show us what he can do with that AWP. He's got it out. He's saved a good bit of money to get that sniper out early. Let's see if he goes for any aggression.
No sniper to counter him on the T side either, sticking with the AKs and Galils, so we'll have relative free reign with it to go as he pleases. For now, relatively passive, though. Happy to hold in towards Red, and the nade combo onto Rez doing work. Again, they're trying to contest that B lane control early, NiP, but it's costing them a lot of damage.
Looked like Rez just wanted a pick there. Fozy also taking damage on the spam. Goofy's got those lineups on point so far this game. When you've got that smoke up, you can be confident to line up those wall bangs. So good early damage done by Wisla. They may not know exactly how much damage they have done, but NiP happy to take this round slow, try and bleed out that CT utility. You can see how much utility NiP have left.
Holding on to near enough the kitchen sink at this point as the last of the smokes start to rain through for Wisla. Sobble, the only player with any utility left at all, and he's trusted to try and stall over towards the A site if that's where NiP look to go for the 4th round on the trot. However, it does look finally like NiP are going to try and crack B, and it's a missed read from Wisla. They've started to rotate heavily into A off the back of Hampus's utility, and once more, it's an isolated fight in the site. There's nothing Sparrow can do. 5 players charging straight at him head first. Unfortunate not to find maybe a little more damage, but once again, it's early tag damage, 0 conversions, and with the bomb going down, Wisla, they've got to have a long, hard think about this. They're smoked out of any kind of a retake for the time being. 3 of them stuck deep in towards CT. The only player who's really in a position to have any impact is Goofy, and he's locked out from multiple angles. S-Tag with Fuzi behind will deal with him, and once again, I think it's the 4th time on the trot at this point. Wisla just misreading the situation and forced to save their rifles.
NiP showing some of that class early here. Hampus selling that fake towards mid. And it's so nice to have an in-game leader who you can rely on to do things by himself, to make solo plays like that. Hampus threw a couple of smokes towards mid. They dropped some over so that he could throw multiple pieces of utility. You could see that rotation came quickly from the AWP of Snatchy. He wanted to reposition over to A, and that means that B site is very vulnerable. As soon as you lose 1 kill, it is really hard to get back into position. You see Wisla having to just concede the round, but at least they saved their guns, so they still have a full buy in this one.
Able to just about scrape it out again, though lacking severely in the utility department. Going to go aggressive with it, Wisla. This time actually taking the lane control. The chip damage not coming through, but they've got the control instead. And that's something to maybe work with as NiP looking for something cheeky. Catching the timing of the early rotation. Sparrow is aware that this is a possibility and he will deal with 1, but with the trade coming through, again, the CT side start to get wrapped on, this time over towards that A site once more, as Snatchy is going to have a hell of a lot to do. Holding down long, has support from Donut from Sobble. There's a timing on this CT play, though, and that's where it gets rough. Snatchy, missed shot, has to fall back further into Temple. Multiple crosshairs on him, and as his head's ripped off, it's Sobble to try and clutch up a double. Denies the bomb plant and buys time as Fuzi chucked into the 1v3. 50 seconds left and bomb down in the open. Feels like it's a must-win round for Wisla, and Jedka will find the conversion.
Finally getting their first CT round. It's important to get that early on Ancient. Normally a map where you will want to get a lot of your work done on this CT side. This is a round where NiP take a bit of a bigger risk, though. And I like the idea for Hampus to just try and get a timing through mid. They get the initial trade, but it really just comes down to Sobol dropping a smoke on the site, creating a bit too much chaos for NiP. He made it an awkward position. Now it's back to the mid contest, and Jedka's forced away.
Good nade damage again, though, for Wisla. Hampus absolutely chewing on one. Hides behind the boxes, down on 25 HP. It's that early trade of chip damage once more as Snatchy baited into the shoulder peak well by Rez. Fires off a couple of shots, but will be forced to retreat. And Fuzi, he's going to go for the boost up. Try and take this AWP fight one-on-one, this time with the big green, but it's the experience of Snatchy that does one better. A little aggressive with it, slightly off the angle. Doesn't expect it, Fuzi, and will be punished. Early man advantage for Wisla.
Snatchy already switching up his positions throughout this game. You can even see here he's taken that angle into cave now. NiP invested heavily in that early mid control, but they've quickly grouped back up towards B. They're going to start clearing these angles, but if they don't use utility here, Snatchy could have a really good fight.
Popsky just going to wide swing it on the timing. The Molotov does clear the close angle. It makes this shot a little more awkward as well as the flashbang blinds Snatchy up, burning alive. He'll go down to S-Tag, and Goofy has got to hold here. Got to buy time. Rotation's already making their way in. Sobel has managed to place himself on long as S-Tag doesn't expect Goofy through the smoke to double up. Rez taken down without any sight of the problems. Hampus and Plopsky left to clutch up 2-on-4, but again, the clock already their enemy. Just 20 seconds left. Plopsy goes on a mad one. Clean headshot at least onto Goofy, but it's this long play of Sobel causing so many problems. Plopsky doing what he can, but low HP. He will be dealt with. Sparrow to get the final kill. Wisla holding on, you have to say. It's not clean. It's not easy, but they're getting it done.
The utility so far for NiP has looked really solid. That double molly combo onto Snatchy makes the AWPer's life so awkward. But Wisla able to bounce back. They had that smoke down onto Cave, which made life even more difficult for NiP. And I gotta say, I love the name Goofy. Wolfie. I just love it because you get so many pros trying to go for some super serious name. I feel like there are probably people at home who would call themselves like XX Dark Destroyer or something like that. And then you just got Goofy. Like, how can you be mad if you die to Goofy?
You can't. And that's the problem. I like the tilty, super serious names. I like the getting in your opposition's head. Nobody's going to be mad if they die to a guy called Goofy in a 1v1, are they? I mean, we get some weird names, don't we? Let's be fair. My name's Wolfie, and as some people may have noticed, I'm not a wolf. So it's, you know,
oh, really?
You get some funkiness. You, Hawker? I mean, I've seen the YouTube intros. You've got the Hawk going on, but where did that come from?
It's just literally, it's so boring. My last name is just Hawkins. So I was like, Hawk. And then I just tried to make it sound a little bit cooler. That was it. Literally it. Doesn't sound that cool, sadly. I do like Rez's name too, because I just imagine if he was a toxic little 13-year-old, he'd just type R-easy at the end of every round, right?
How do we not know he's doing it already? Oh, nice
boost.
Little run boost, Snatchy. Taking the control, aggressive down the B lane again. You can see Wisla really keen to fight this early on. They've been consistently, if it's not chip damage, they're trying to contest it with firepower. But Snatchy is in a little bit of a one-and-done spot for now. If he gets caught by Fuzi on this left-hand side, on that angle, life could get rough, and he's being wallbanged down. Fuzi, the AWPer, knows exactly where his opposite number will be looking to play. Gets Snatchy down to half HP, forces him off that first angle, and manages to regain control of the lane. Such a critical piece of real estate on Ancient.
Yeah, that's so big. Look at the rotate from Wisla. They've actually started to rotate back to B just because Fuzi's kept that presence. That's left mid a little more open, and now NiP have much more control to work with.
Starting to work their way in towards the donut. Jedka's forced off the mid angle. You can see the rotations from Wisla. You can see they don't know where to fight at the moment. Jedka puts himself deep into CT, but it leaves Sobel once more completely alone in this A-site defense. S-Stag starting to line up the utility to lock him out of it entirely, fully grain screen. There's nothing Sobel can do as once more the A-site just under siege and there's nobody home. Fuzi dealing with the rotates, gets Goofy and Hampus lines him up. Clean double spray down in towards mid. Both players looking the wrong way. And yes, Snatchy grabs a kill on the AWP, but they can't even escape at this point. Hampus is already looking to lock down their rotate. Snatchy knows, but there's nothing he can do. And Sobel, well, he was the first A-site defender, and he is the last as well for Wisla, as NiP, 4 players left up, just looking to hunt down this last rifle and make sure there's no way Sobel can save. He'll find one, but that gives his position away, and Rez is already looking for him. Will go down, but there's plenty more where that came from, and finally, Fuzi will put him to bed.
The utility and the game plan has been great from NiP, but for me, that round especially is really exciting because that is Fozy just kind of realizing the overall bigger picture of the round, that he needs to keep that presence over towards B. He was left with a lot of responsibility by himself in that round, and he honestly looked like a veteran in that scenario with the decisions he made. Fantastic stuff from him to make sure they have that map control. It leaves mid much more open because remember, mid was being contested by the Poles early. They gave it up to rotate back to B because Fozy forced them away. That was such a huge reason why NiP could gain all that ground. And I love the idea from Wisla Krakow to play a bit more aggressively, to try and play ahead of the NiP utility. But NiP is showing they can handle everything right now.
Very well drilled for a map that we mentioned in the pregame. Hadn't been played a whole lot. Happy to go towards it, and perhaps we're starting to see why now. Rez and Fuzi combining beautifully in towards the lanes. This utility again deep into mid to try and isolate the fight. Sobel will get one, but he's quickly traded in kind. As once more, it's Fuzi over towards that B bomb site, finding the entry, and that again leaves a very isolated fight. Goofy, P250 in hand, trying to see if he can just hold on, just stay alive. And okay, they've baited them in well to the one rifle they've got. Jedka able to double up on that 4A4 and find his team the man advantage, make it 2. Clean headshots, and Jedka coming up huge in a round they desperately needed Wisla, as he's bought them a 1v3. Rifles recoverable as well, as Rez finds an awkward spray down. And on 27 HP to try and clutch up, running out of ammo in that AK-47 as well, with 3 rifles now against him. It feels like Wisla may have pulled off the miracle.
18 seconds and you're stuck behind this smoke. Not much money on your teammates. It might be time to concede this one. That's a big turning point in this game, because now Wisla have every chance to gain that momentum here on the CT side. Take a look at the money for NiP. This is a poor position for them to be in. And we always talk about how Ancient is probably the most CT-sided map we have right now, at least based on overall data from what we see from teams. So it's important that you get that streak early. And it looks like Wisla have the chance to do that here as they force this timeout out of NiP.
Big break point early on for that T-side economy, like you said. Hampus near enough broke. Only a 1900 loss bonus, though, so not even really going to be able to buy into the next on the likes of Hampus, Fuzi, and Plopsky. So a big decision to be made for NiP here. Can look to force up, aware that as much as they did just lose a big round to the Pistols, the economy of the CT side is yet to be established, and that's exactly the call they're going to make. Couple of AKs come out, 3 Deegs alongside, picking up a decent belt of utility as well, as they're aware that Wisla really are only 1 round from breaking themselves. So if they can pull off a little miracle of their own, they'll be right back in the game on the T side.
Another round where NiP group up early, this time outside of A. This is often a standard setup you'll see from the CTs, where they leave A a little more vulnerable early on. This timing could work nicely. Sobol left the A site. He's currently playing from Donut. If NiP just walked in here, they'd have a pretty decent chance.
Gonna switch it up to the headshot angle as the smoke start to come out. Drops his own to the left, trying to buy himself time and room, but he's running out of it rapidly. Clean damage onto Rez, but yet to find a single kill as the A site once again is swarmed upon. Snatchy with a lovely little wallbang will start to be traded away, but Snatchy continuing to find impact on that AWP as Sobel dives in with the frag he was searching for earlier, and Plopsky, well, he's lost all his teammates, he's lost all hope, and he's lost the round with it. Wisla continuing to find their feet, you have to say. That was much cleaner despite the initial issues with the setup. They recover it well. Snatchy starts to chime in nicely with the AWP, and they start to break that T-side economy.
Yeah, smart play from Sobol, getting back onto the site in time, and then also realizing he just needed to survive for a good bit of time on the bomb site there. Drops that similar smoke down, which makes it really hard for NiP to flush him out of that position. Rotate comes through, and Wisla decide they need a timeout ahead of this round. Maybe just making 100% sure they're keeping track of that economy. Sometimes maths can be hard, Wolfie. I know, I feel like I never have a clue what money the enemy have in MM games. I call that they're on an eco, and then I'm up against an AWP, and I'm just crying.
Well, we always
That's
say,
just my life, though.
We always say never do math on broadcast for a reason, right? And it's, you don't want to be caught there. You don't want to be thinking about it, but I think Wisla likely are going to use this as sort of an extended timeout. It's something we see teams do when they go towards the full eco, right? They'll take the timeout. They're talking about the next rifle round. They're not even talking about this one. And I suspect Wisla might be doing something similar. They know that NiP are going to be bringing near enough nothing into this round, so take the timeout, use this time as well as the time from that timeout to start talking about your next rifle buy, start talking about what changes you want to make, how you want to anti-strat things, as you're already starting to clear the pistols away. 2 down, Fuzi low on HP outside of B. And admittedly, again, they are going to get the A site, but this time it's not without damage, and Sobol easily able to double up and clean things smoothly with all 5 players kept alive for Wisla.
Light work for Wisla, as you would expect. This round will be a little more difficult because the buy will come back through. Really, you're just looking for a single kill with the Glocks there. If you're NiP, it's probably best case scenario. The AKs are now back out in full force. We've seen NiP willing to contest mid early. We've also seen them willing to default, and this looks more like that spread. This has been quite common for them, though, just leaving one player towards B and then grouping up elsewhere, and they're gonna go for fights, but Snatchy ready to duel.
All too aware of the possibility, rotating that AWP beautifully. We've seen him at B, we've seen him at A, and now we're seeing him in mid, finding the early control, and off the back of it, Wisla looking to capitalize. Full lane control taken away. Fuzi solo, unable to commit even a lone glance into that lane to see if maybe he can find the pick. So man down, control lost for NiP. They're going to go back to exactly what you were talking about earlier, Hawker, just grouping up all 4 players, death balling their way out of mid, and for now not being given any fights at all by this CT side.
This could be tough. If they don't expect Spiro, if they turn to fully focus on Sobol, then the timing might be bad. Sobol looking to buy time, Snatchy in position with the AWP, and now they're not comfortable crossing.
Stuck in no man's land, and Spiro takes full advantage. Sobol with one more before he burns alive as Rez. How many times have we said his name? Stuck in the clutch, wallbang down through the smoke. He's found by Spiro, and that is a beautiful little setup again by Wisla, you have to say. Sobol has been doing a really solid job of rotating his positions in towards that A site. We've seen him aggressive in Donut. We've seen him passive in Temple. This time, he sticks around in Donut to buy his AWP an angle. And because they've seen Snatchy in mid, they're expecting that rotate, but they're not sure where he's going to be next. And he's in the perfect position to shut it down. Puts NiP back onto another half by this time Deagles and Tex, as they look to once more group up this death ball in towards mid.
Double molly on mid again. Snatchy peeks down towards B. They've used a lot of mollies to clear it fully. Wisla have all the info now. B lane clear again. We should start to see them rotate some players back to A somewhat soon. And this aggression has been so important for Wisla because NiP are quite often grouping up early like this. Wisla have realized they need to adapt by going for some aggression, going for some info plays, and now Snatchy should have a good chance, but he's missed his first opportunity.
Nice pot flash to get him back in, but it's a 1-for-1. They don't expect the second player, but Goofy, oh, that was a must-hit shot. Can't quite find the connection he's after, and this is where things start to get a little awkward. Tech9's charging in, doing what they can, but the trades once more are good enough. Jedka and Goofy stabilizing the situation well for Wisla as they get their 7th on the board. For a split second there, Hawker, that started to look like it was going to get ugly, but it was well reeled in by Wisla.
There's just so much early info on mid. They spot so many players early at mid that they can actually call for those A players to just come back to Donut and double up that position. Instead of maybe having just the single player there who could have potentially been run down by pistols, they make sure they have multiple players in position. They really knew exactly what was coming there. I think NiP have got to start realizing they're losing this B control a little too often in these recent rounds. Wisla keep getting these perfect reads on these situations. This is where NiP have to figure out mid-game that that's been going against them. That can be hard to do sometimes. That adaptation mid-game when your game plan's going wrong, that's one of the hardest things to do in Counter-Strike.
Puts a lot of pressure on your in-game leader as well. The hope is that with this pause coming in, the coach has spotted it, right? And he steps in, he goes, okay, they've worked out that Fuzi has been playing solo B more often than not. We need to start reinforcing that. They have, at times, NiP sent Rez to join him. And that's when they've had a lot of success maintaining that control. When they've got that two-man play, they've got the counter utility, the smokes to put out the Molotovs, then they can really start to contest things. The problem is when Fuzi's left alone and you've got a 2 or a 3-man take of that B lane coming through, he's surrounded by fire. He's got flashes and smokes going off in his face. He's got an AWP peering down while 2 rifles swing on him. There's no way Fuzi's going to win that fight, right? There's no way for him to isolate the 1v1s. There's no way for him to hold on to the control. So NiP just need to start sending more firepower there. That's the bottom line. They need to start giving him some support. And if they work that out, then there's a really solid chance of a hard counter because you can see Wisla starting to settle into it now. Snatchy that time wasn't run boosted into the B peak, went all the way down, took the slower routing, and still just peaked it dry. So he's starting to get comfortable with the idea he can peek into that B lane, and potentially if you put 2 or 3 crosshairs there against him, there's a punishment available.
I also think we could see some more B plays for NiP in these last couple of rounds, because they have had a lot of rounds where it's been mid contests and oftentimes even leaning into that A side of the map. And statistically, Sobol has been the highest rated player on this Wisla team in recent months. He's also looked so solid and sharp with his decision making too. And there have been a couple of rounds where when NiP have led into B, they've got those early kills. There was a round early in the half where they just got 1 kill onto Spiro early to get them into position. Might be a decent idea to go back to that B site at some point. I assume the extended pause means we may have some technical issues, Wolfie. We knew it was coming at some point today, so I don't mind getting it out of the way early.
We were taking guesses as to how many we'd get, how long they would be. Of course, day one of any event, right? You're going to get tech pauses. You're going to get these kind of issues coming through. And you can see it actually in the camera of Sobol. You've got a couple referees walking behind him. Of course, we're on LAN now, so the full team is there to try and diagnose and deal with these issues as quickly as possible. But
I'm just glad it's
right.
not me having a technical issue, Wolfie.
It would be a little more
worst.
difficult.
That's a nightmare.
It would be a little more difficult for us, wouldn't it? From home,
especially because exactly the players there, they have like referees and people whose job it is to know about technical stuff. I'd be over here desperately trying to do whatever the hell I could and normally failing. Gotta be honest.
We're not technically minded, are we? But look, what we'll do is we've obviously got this extended pause going on. We will use this opportunity to give you an update on what's going on the A and the B stream. So if you don't want spoilers, if you want to go and watch the VOD back and see the games as if they were live after this, turn your headset off now. Turn the volume down to 0 because I am about to do some moderate spoilers as we do come back to our cameras, of course. Godsent Mouse, the youngsters are wiping the floor with Godsent. 12-3 up at the half on Nuke. Their CT side looking very, very crispy and clean. The surprising one, you have to say, is that the Copenhagen Flames are currently 6-1 up against Fnatic on Overpass, no less.
Decent start for them. We've got to see if they can keep that up. I'll be honest, if I was making predictions today, if you'd have asked me for full predictions, I think I would have actually picked Godsent, which I'm going to admit, even though they seem to be getting smashed right now. But yeah, good to see MBK slotting in nicely. JDC also top of the board alongside Torzi. So that's exciting signs if you're a Mouse Sports fan. Or sorry, a Mouse fan. It's not Mouse Sports anymore. Gotta get it right.
New logo, new name, the whole 9 yards. But to be fair, if you've been watching their youngsters roster, it's not too surprising to see Torzi and JDC slotting in as cleanly as they are, right? It's a very, very strong roster of very young and talented players, almost similar to what we've got with Fuzi, right? You create that youngsters roster, you have that talent pool to then pick from, and you know what you're getting, right? You know exactly what their strengths and weaknesses are, so you can slot them in and work the team around them best you can. It takes you out of the position like we've seen with FaZe, where Rops is out and they don't have anyone, right? There's no youngsters roster, there's no new talent pool to pick from where you know what you're getting, so they have to go a little outside the box. They go, okay, we'll pick up JKS, and you can see the logic. But obviously, you've got to gel that in. There's the whole bedding him into the team, getting him used to his spots period, which you avoid entirely by having these youngsters rosters. So it's a really solid move from Mouse, both as an organization and for JDC as an individual, to be popping off on the biggest stage as a great big neon, I'm available, I'm currently in the youngsters roster, come pick me up sign.
Yeah, definitely. And like you said, that Mal's NXT roster, they haven't just been doing well in the Academy League, which was always the big sign that they'd have a lot of potential going forwards. Because a lot of the Academy teams, I think, mostly just play in the Academy tournaments, then in a couple of online events where maybe they'll go out quite early on. Whereas Mal's NXT were always one of the teams going pretty deep in some of those pinnacle style events and those online events that you can get that experience in. So definitely a good sign for the Mouse guys. I think in terms of what we've seen from our games so far, I would say it's mostly lived up to expectations, but it is a little concerning how NiP have started to fall a little flat. I guess the upside is they got quite a few T rounds early, so whatever happens, I don't think they're going to have a terrible half. But it feels like Vista are getting much more comfortable, like you were saying. And I really think that has been the key difference. They're just comfortable going aggressive. They don't really feel like they've been tested too much in recent rounds because they've just always had a good idea as to what NiP are doing with just all that early info.
Yeah, it's been an interesting one because, you know, when we were talking about it in the pregame, I was saying that I wanted to see them coming out the blocks early, right? Putting that pressure back on NiP, getting things going. That's not really what's happened. Instead, you've had this initial spree by NiP, and then almost in the complete opposite manner to what I expected, they've started to read it, Wisla. They've started to work it out, started to use some of that experience we spoke about and find the counter strat, and that's exactly what they've got going here. But NiP, as expected, have started to try and find their own way back into things off the back of that extended pause. It's not one, it's not two, but it's three T-side players looking to control that lane, and they've got it for free. Oh, missed shot. Snatchy trying to punish the walkout mid, can't quite connect, and now under pressure from two angles at once.
He really wants this kill on the player in Kabi. He's going to go for it, but now he's in the open. Hampus gets that opener towards mid, and now this could get real uncomfortable. Rez with another one, and NiP's switch-up seems to have paid off.
Must find kill there for Snatchy as he hasn't got it. The whole thing is just falling apart. Sobel low on HP. Sparrow and Jedka, well isolated, 1v1s consistently going the way of NiP now as it is just a slaughter. Jedka alone over on that A site. It's a little unfortunate. It feels like that pause almost takes the wind out of the sails of Wisla, right? Just a complete demolition job into this round. The pressure on Snatchy, couple of missed opportunities punished. And well, off the back of it, NiP almost guaranteed a 6th round, you have to say. That bomb slowly but surely working its way over towards B, making no mistakes with it. Not wanting to give any extra rifles over towards that CT side, but very shortly NiP are going to realize this is wide open for the taking, and it will be a free 6th round.
Completely clear for the bomb plant. Posey can come in for a free landing on that B bomb site. And I'm glad that NiP went for a more spread stance. I think they've realized they can afford to do that. It's also a scenario where Wisla are using a lot of utility early in rounds. So I actually think NiP could even have gone a little slower if they wanted to. But after they got that first kill, it just felt like it was that first domino that got pushed over. And afterwards, the entire team got toppled. Apart from Jedka. who apparently can stand tall.
Stand tall or hide in a corner. He's deep inside that A site, and he is really not budging.
You live.
Not giving anything away, hoping to save this rifle. It's understandable.
Been big into dominoes, Wolfie? Ever done like a really long streak of dominoes?
I mean, when I was a kid, sure, but not recently.
No standout memories then? You didn't have like a really impressive domino. Like, what is it even called? A domino
run?
Run, I guess. Yeah.
Sure. We'll go with run.
I don't think I have any standout memories either, sadly. I wish I had just like a really cool, massive domino run. No. Not that cool.
Just not that cool, Hawker. You stuck to video games instead, and well, here we are with Wisla picking up the double up, set up, and Snatchy again just swinging in. Another missed shot, another opportunity squandered, and with Plopsky finding the opening, the pressure immediately back on Wisla. Jedka staying around to fight a little while longer, does get good damage, but again, not quite able to convert the kill as the mid control is at least taken. But with a man disadvantage, it's a question of how long can Wisla really afford to hang around in this. Already they're starting to bail out. Jedka has left Sobel just for dead in middle for now. Finally starts to look to cover as Sobel works his way back towards this cubby. And it's going to be NiP once more going for this delayed mid control. Smoke to lock Jedka out of his first angle. Sobel off the back of it has to retreat. The CT side, well, a man down. They've got no choice but to concede this initial control.
See this patience really in play for NiP. Much more willing to run down that clock. 41 seconds remaining off the back of the opener. NiP will finally group up, and this B site is not well reinforced right now. At least Jedka's getting this info towards mid, but Goofy has a lot to do. Maybe the smoke will help him, but NiP have really got to go through that. There's low time left.
20 seconds, pop flashes over the top, and they're just going to absolutely send it. Goofy, it is time for you to shine, mate. Jedka on the backstabs, managed to double up, and that turns their crosshairs the other way. Rez will deal with it, but now it's Goofy. Here's that bomb go down. Spam desperately trying to connect, but it is going to be planted. 2 frags, regardless, leave Fuzi in the 1v3. This is much better from Wisla. Clean headshot for 1. He turns, he looks, but he's stabbed in the back by Sparrow. Wisla, by the skin on their teeth, call that flank with the perfect timing. If he hasn't found that double kill, if Jedka can't connect those 2 headshots, it's done. It's Goofy alone. There's no way he can try and hold off that site. But with the double kill coming in, you can see NiP with that limited time, like you spoke about. 17 seconds on the clock when that happens. They have to turn. They have to watch for the backstab. And that buys just enough time for the reinforcements to arrive.
Impressive awareness from Wisla that they can't just sit for the entire round in a 4v5. They know they need to take some initiative back. They get that flank through mid with low time left on the clock. And now it's back to the early mid contest. Snatchy forced away. Hampus full blind, and Sobel nearly got that chance. He has to fall back, but eventually gets that kill he was so desperately looking for. It's still all action, but it's into a 3v3 off the early trades.
Absolute madness in mid as both teams look to contest it. Just a straight up brawl. Everyone full blind, everyone spamming away. It's Sobel who comes out on top with the double kill, but the nades will at least trade it away. And even 3-on-3, the B site has left isolated. Sparrow forced into this passive playstyle will hear the utility and start to call the reinforcements around. But that bomb's going to go down uncontested. Tapped by S-Tag to try and bait a peek, but with nothing forthcoming, he's happy to stick it. And this is where it starts to get awkward. Rez has the right eye advantage on this peak. Smoke goes deep as he looks to hold off, and Sobel walks right into the crosshairs. Sparrow, the secondary AWPer, left 1v3. Connects a nice shot for the first, but again, he's got no utility. He's got nothing to try and isolate these fights, and the 2-man ramp hold will suffice. 8-7 as we head into the halftime break. Wisla with the narrowest of leads. leads at the half for Wisla Krakow as they go in 8-7 up against NiP. It's a decent start, you have to say, for the underdogs of the game, but again, NiP heading onto the CT side of Ancient, certainly an opportunity to establish themselves.
Absolutely. And if you look at the numbers for both of these teams, they do follow that trend of having a higher win percentage on the CT side. We don't have as much data for the NiP guys, but for Wisla Krakow, it is the same, where they've got a decently higher win percentage on that CT side. So I think NiP will probably be the happier of the two teams at the half with 7 rounds on the board already. And we've got the double dualies in play for the CT pistol. I feel like I'm seeing more and more success from the dualies these days, Wolfie, especially on Ancient. A lot of close positions you can play. Let's see if they pay off for them here in the pistol.
I'm going to go out and say it. Getting double dualies, 1 flashbang and no defuse kit, not the vibe for me. Not the vibe to be going completely defuse kitless, but they're going to be tested early. It's a fast play into the B site. The utility dropped immediately by Wisla, enforcing almost the entirety of this CT defense out. Plopsky alone, trapped in the cubby. Nothing he can do with the dualies. Fuzi will find one through the smoke, but again, the trade is instantaneous. And at this point, this is where that lack of kit starts to become a problem. They're a man down. They're stuck behind the smokes, at least for now, and they've got to get a shift on because they need a full 10-second defuse.
Starting to move in slowly but surely, but they realize they have to speed up, and now the dualies go against them. Jenka gets all 3 lined up. Oh, the curse of the dualies. Apparently, if you buy 2, you're in trouble. Good to know.
Oh, he enjoyed that. He really did. Picks up the dualies and makes NiP pay for them. That is straight savagery. As almost immediately Wisla take the timeout.
Yeah, don't hit him with the timeout straight after. Oh, man.
Just let it sit in that kill feed for an extra second. Let Jedka calm down after his big pop-off moment on those dual Berettas. But a nice start for Wisla, you have to say. They executed cleanly. The utility, again, excellent, and it forces Plopsky into this impossible situation. He's mollied off, he's smoked off from his support lines. He's desperately trying to find anywhere he can stand on that B site where he's not slowly barbecuing alive, and it makes him an easy target, right? Because he's not really watching any angle. He's trying to hold 3 simultaneously. Instant pick, and that's where that lack of a defuse kit just comes back to bite NiP.
Yeah, I'd have preferred the double stack into cave with the dualies, I think, because at least then you have the cave position potentially for the retake. You have those close angles initially. They kind of just used the dualies and then fell back to positions where they weren't going to be that powerful. What do you think of the MP5, Wolfie?
I mean, objectively, it's a terrible decision, but
It's got a silencer on the T side. That's pretty cool. Look, he's got the FBI gun, but he's a T. He's an inside man. He's an inside man on the inside.
Maybe that's the logic. That's how Wisla think they're going to get it done. All play to him. I don't buy it. I don't think it's that solid a weapon. I think when you've got the MAC-10 just sat there, the box of bullets does its job perfectly happily without the extra financial incentive, but I'll have to see if he can get something done with it at least. He's just tucking it into cave at the moment, starting to clear out the angles in towards Jaguar. Not spotting anything at all, though, as NiP hold their ground. They're happy to sit with this 3-man stack over towards B as long as possible. That smoke, again, buys a little more time for Fuzi out on A. Does look like Wisla want to end up there, want to take advantage of the range with the Galil of Sobel, the AK of Snatchy. But again, they're running this time very low. For now, stuck behind that CT smoke. Fuzi, an awkward timing as he goes to clear Donut right as they work their way out long. So Wisla will be able to start taking this site for free, but surely NiP are going to smell a rat. Yeah, Hamper's starting to work it out. The in-game leader has worked his way back round towards A, and if they don't expect him in the temple, he could do a lot of work. He's lost his support lines, though, and now with his position known, he's trying for the pre-fires, finding none. Plopsky through the smoke denies plant, though. And with 10 seconds left, they're just going to keep charging NiP. Keep charging through the smoke. Look for the plant denial. They can't quite find it. It's Jedka's Julies again with another big double kill to bail Wisla out.
NiP go for the upgraded pistols, and they stall things out long enough to make it somewhat uncomfortable at the end there. But Wisla had enough players watching the right positions. They had the communication to make sure they could keep that bomb planter safe, which is exactly what they needed. They go ahead and close out that round, and now the reward is a much easier one here in round 18.
Opportunity to farm some cash onto that Mac 10 as well. Jedka, though,
Ooh.
not having any of it. Spray down, connects onto Hampers nice and cleanly. Goofy charging on that Mac 10. Does leave himself a little too isolated, and indeed he does get punished. Plopsky able to find that kill. Sparrow again has wandered solo out onto this B site, and this is starting to get once more a little awkward. Man advantage actually there for NiP. The rifles, sure, they're still up, but your two SMGs have gone out on, well, death runs, essentially, wandering into the crosshairs of NiP with no support whatsoever. And Jedka, he's going to have to start bailing his teammates out. Nice kill to open things up, and at this point, the rifle should be enough to see it home.
Even have a Galil close by if needed. Now Jedka can sit passively, while Sobol with the high health takes the fight. NiP have been locked out at this point. Fozzy's trying to sneak in. There's no way to ninja. Maybe he can get some kills here, and that's what he's looking for. But Sobol turns back. Nice kill from Plopsky, a bit of extra money in his back pocket, but Wisla will win the round, even if they took many more casualties than they would have wanted.
Certainly a lot more expensive than would have been intended, right? That Mac 10 play, I could almost understand. He knew he had an isolated fight. He had the 1v1. But then for Sparrow, after watching that Mac 10 go down to the player in Jaguar to try and cheese his way up the B ramp and get into a position where he's got to hold the entirety of B site. No idea where that CT is coming from other than the one player in Jaguar. It just felt like a little bit of a misstep. They've got their opportunity here to try and correct it. Rez, though, with the early punishment, will be traded 1-for-1. He spotted Bomb on the back of Goofy before he took him down. And Wisla know that because of that, they've got to speed things up. And it's Jedka catching the youngster in transition. Hampers and Plopsky trying to rescue the situation, do well to find the frags that give them the man advantage. But it will be Bomb down. It's a 2-on-3 as the last of the utility comes out for the T side.
Oh, Snatchy sneaks through the smoke into Donut. That's a good post-plant position, but he may be isolated from Sobol, who goes down alone. It's a 1-on-3 for Snatchy, and now there's a smoke in his vision. There's Plopsky on the other side. NiP successful on the retake. After that initial trade, Wisla thought they could pull the trigger. Jedka was hearing those rotations too, so they knew that Hampus was probably over towards Temple, but that Temple position is just so strong. Hampus uses it to his advantage on the initial rotate. And this is why you can play aggressively like this on A, because even if you go down early, oftentimes the response will still be fine. Is this a replay or not?
Yeah, it's a replay. Don't worry.
Okay, I was about to say, there's no way we've just had the exact same start to the round.
Not quite, not quite. Wisla looking to force off the back of the previous round going wrong. Will be able to get the majority of players onto solid firepower. Snatchy just wandering up behind the molly, and Fuzi can't see him. Oh, mate, you need to have a look at your settings because they've just betrayed you. Jedka burns Hampus alive for one more. And that has just gone from bad to worse for NiP. Fuzi can't see Snatchy initially. Hampers gets a free burn kill as he goes down. And oh my goodness, early 3-on-5 for Wisla. This should be an easy conversion for them at this point. Just got to group up, play it smart, trade efficiently, and this round's yours.
I think they're just waiting to see if NiP take a big risk because they're down in a 3v5. Eventually, that group up should come through, as you were pointing out. This is where NiP have taken a slight gamble. They've left Esatag alone on B with the AWP. Couple of fake nades thrown towards A, draw the rotate. Esatag has to hold alone.
Getter on the Deagle will bait him into the initial shot. Well connected, but now they know where Estag is. Switches it up to the AK. Molotov to try and lock out the plant spot. Bomb is still on Snatchy, who's only just now making his way up that ramp. So as the short smoke starts to fade, this could get awkward. Nade dunks onto him, does good damage. Doesn't quite find its angle, though. And Snatchy continues to take advantage. Missed shot for the third, but there's Sparrow to back his man up. And again, Wisla 1v3 for Plopsky to try and contend with. Sparrow knows that he's probably lurking. The Orpa won't be the best rifle to have up close and personal, though, so he goes down. Bomb halfway ticked. Molotov now locks both of these T-side players out of the site itself. Smoke will take the vision away, and Plopsky, he's going to give this miracle run a go. Gets himself onto the bomb, taps it once, desperate for the peak. Plopsky given it by Goofy, taps it again. He's got to stick it. Sobel needs to swing now, and he will. He goes down, but he's bought enough time. It's going to be Wisla. Every man goes down, but they get their 12th round, and that's critical because look at the money for NiP. There just isn't any.
Yeah, NiP get into a scenario where it actually ends up being a close round because Esatag got that first kill. They decide it's worth contesting for. They decide it's worth going for. They bring it so close. And now this is a critical moment in this game. There is no money in the bank for either team. NiP decide to buy, but if they lose this, they're going to fall really far behind.
They have to make this work. This CT side has to start kicking now, showing signs of life. If it doesn't, they'll be staring down the barrel of a lower bracket run to keep their hopes alive, and this is the top-rated team. Playing Zestag, nice angle to open things up. The MP9 spray backed up by Plopsky. Well, Sobel doing what he can. Will find the double that at least keeps things even, but with low HP onto him, Fuzi in a fantastic position to deny the plant as well. Sobel has been left alone on site for now. Fuzi tucks himself into short, baited into the peak, but he turns onto Snatchy, who's having a horrid game. And the Molotov starts to burn out. Sobel low on HP, tucked into the cubby. Now the last man alive. It's smooth sailing for NiP on the retake. They will get it done. And as you said, both teams at breaking point financially. So an opportunity now for that CT side to start running it back.
How much does the bomb plant help, though? Not really enough. They didn't have that losing bonus. AK seemed to be in the rocks. Hampus had to pull that one out of the woods. He's got it. Yeah, this initial hold was just good enough. Plopsky obviously waiting with the M4. Wasn't able to get as much done as maybe he would have wanted, but NiP can rotate over fast because they have that early information. They have those players in position. And it is that scenario where Wisla have to go ahead and pick up a couple of pistols and not much else.
I thought for a moment Sobel might have done enough, and if Snatchy had found that backstab kill, if he'd been able to deal with Fuzi's FAMAS, then it would have felt far more viable, but just not quite able to find the connection. So it's down to the pistols, 2 Deegs, 2 P250s, solo Glock, and NiP playing it smart. 2 players this time hold up at least initially over towards the A site, but again, Sparrow with 1 P250 shot has actually drawn the rotate, so Rez going to be left alone. Up against 4 as Sobel and Snatchy boosting up, trying to give themselves a nasty little angle. Shadow gives it away though, and Rez very aware of the possibility. Clean spray down against the eco. All 4 happy to just mop them up as Sparrow, well, he was the initial decoy over towards B, so he's completely stuck in no man's land, deep inside long. Spotted out, dealt with, ace for Rez, beautiful stuff. It is the eco frags, but they've got to be found regardless.
Could be the first ace of Katowice. We don't know because we can only see this stream. It is certainly one of the earliest ones. And these are the moments from Rez where you just look at it and you say, wow, this guy has a lot of skill, a lot of talent. You can see that with the control there. And Wisla actually don't have enough to buy. Very conservative approach taken.
Not a fan. Not a fan of this half buy. 3 techs, a P250, 1 MAC-10.
Yeah, they could have got AKs here. They just wouldn't have had much utility. That was the option they had if they wanted to buy. But I guess they're just confident that they're going to be able to get it going when they get the full gun round. Or maybe they're confident in this round, Wolfie. Who knows?
Problem is, Rez is aggressive. Rez should know this isn't the A site. He should know it's B, but the rotate's going the wrong way. Fuzi finds 1 on the entry at the very least, but Sobel again just causing havoc with the MAC-10. Will at least trade for 1. Fuzi now trying to make amends, finds a big double. That's bomb dropped. Nothing they can do. Snatchy needs to try and grab that bomb, needs to try and get it back towards the site, but they still haven't cleared the cave, and still Plopsky lies in wait. The deep smoke will try and isolate Hampus, but if Plopsky isn't found here by Sparrow, if the timing's rough, which it is, then this round is done. Snatchy Mac 10, he's trying to go through his own smokes, hoping to maybe catch a timing onto somebody. He can hear Hampus spamming this one down, but Hampus knows he's connected as well. Snatchy now. Oh, there's just nowhere to hide. There's nothing for him to do. He knows he's got to clear so many angles, and Plopsky will put him down.
I think to use some NFL terminology, that was a little bit of a fumble from Wisla with the bomb there, going all the way deep in. I can understand that you want to get that full control because those spams and those back positions can be strong to counter the bomb plants. But that's a round where just getting the bomb down would have been pretty nice for Wisla. Either way, they have the AKs now. This is what they saved for. Solid utility into this round for the Poles. Put a lot of pressure on themselves to win this one. Let's see if they can pull it off.
All or nothing time for Wisla. Looked so strong in those early moments. Need this rifle round to connect, though. They need to start putting NiP back down where they were just a few rounds ago on that CT side. Lane control captured early for Wisla. Well worked with the initial utility. The chip damage will keep coming through, though. Goofy down to 62. So Wisla start to creep their way up mid. This is where NiP will start to feel a little fidgety. They've got zero vision, zero clue what's going on in towards mid at the moment. No clue of what kind of lane control Wisla are working with, so the rotations will start to come in. S-Tag looks to hold deep CT. Snatchy and Sobble, they want to take this control away. This is a nice off angle for S-Tag, but Snatchy's one ahead of him. Clean headshot to open things up, and with that man advantage, they're looking to retreat, but Hampus is there, in towards the donut, traded at least by Jedka, and now Wisla, they've got a wrap potentially in towards this B site, but instead, it's Sobble starting to clear his way back out into A, and the rotation timings are going to be everything. Plopsky is ready for Jedka, and he's caught with a molly in hand, so now there's two CTs in position on this A site, but they have no idea about Sobble, who has worked his way all the way out onto A without being spotted through CT and Rez. This is it. He's got to play the trigger discipline, and he gets both. Clean headshots, clean execution. Sobble in the backlines will at least get one, but there's 13 seconds. That's a molly to isolate the bomb, and Rez, he's missed it. Bomb will be picked up, and it's on to Fuzi. Missed shot from the youngster. That will allow the plant. No, it won't. The denial is there. The time surely isn't right, and NiP get away with murder for a 12.
Oh, Rez finding that little cubby in the corner. One that's awkward to clear. Wisla not ready for him to be there. Big props to Rez for keeping his composure in that scenario. As soon as he heard the steps, he knew he was going to have the fights, and he looked so confident with those taps to their head, wreaking havoc for Wisla. I think they also could have done with Jedka just sitting in towards mid. He pulled out the molly to try and cut off the rotate, which you understand. But you feel like with the AK there, you can just be confident in that fight. You can just be confident holding that angle. Because that initial kill onto S-Attack did sever off the ability for the NiP players to rotate and assist each other. But that ended up not quite happening. The rotate was allowed. Sobol saves the AK, but the rest of the team on pistols. It's looking like NiP have every chance to take back the lead here.
Jedka perhaps just overthinking things, just a little bit, aware of the situation, wanted to drop that molly to make absolutely sure there could be no rotation. Instead, gets caught with it in hand. Timing couldn't have been worse for him, and now NiP, as you said, huge opportunity to stabilize. Sparrow fully blinded. They're starting to find their feet now on the CT side as Hampus takes the freebie. Half buy again for Wisla. Of course, Sobble saving that AK, gets no financial repercussions for it, so he's down to 650. It's an ugly look for Wisla in what could be an absolutely critical round. They've not found anything initially. They've actually lost the initial lane control, although Goofy's at least keeping an eye on things, and you can see Sobble toying with the timing, very nearly caught it, but again, Hampus just about rotated in enough time, and he'll be wise to the threat, adjusts his crosshair well to deal with Sobble. And at this point, you've lost your rifle. Yes, you've got two low HP opponents, but they've got rifles, you've got pistols, and Rez, well, he's going to start mopping things up once again.
It was all about that AK going in first. If he wins that initial fight, then maybe we can get excited, because there wasn't much presence towards A. Rez was playing passively towards Donut, but that didn't happen. So NiP have the lead here for the first time in a while. They've brought it back on their CT side. Now they are in the driver's seat. Wisla are the ones that have to adapt, have to figure out how they can get a T round on the board. Hampus has started playing aggressively too, as we know he loves to do. He almost gets caught early, but he swings even wider into mid. Do they know?
Snatchy doesn't know. They've got no idea. Hampus is going to keep on pushing it. Snatchy spotted. Not quite dealt with. Hampus gets a lot of damage through that wall, but it's not quite the kill. And with the big green in hand, I don't think Snatchy will mind too much. It's the one gun that you can afford to be low HP on. You only need one shot to connect for the kill. The problem is they've lost the mid control. They've got no idea what Hampus did after finding that initial damage. And with this two-man cave play in place for Estag and Plopsky, coming back into this lane feels like a huge risk now. Fuzi is holding for this exact boost. If there's not a flash over the top, he should be done for and all. Snatchy with the perfect flash very nearly catches the timing. But again, no frag found. Even 5-on-5 still. And Estag with this two-man setup in towards the cave. Goofy turns, sees both, can't find either. And that's the man advantage that NiP so desperately needed. Cave control maintained. And again, Snatchy, he's trying to be cheeky. He's trying to work his way up this B ramp. But with 40 seconds left, there's no pick. There's no utility. And there's very nearly no time for Wisla. Snatchy's just going to go into this left eye peak. Can't quite connect it. And well, that should be job done. 3-on-5. They're going to continue to charge into this site. Sobel doing what he can, finds two. And somehow out of nothing, he's bought them a lifeline. But he needed to get that bomb down. He's faked it one time too many. He hasn't got the health to do that. And Estag will punish a small mistake. But it could well be the undoing of this T side as now Sparrow taps it once again. He's desperate to bait some kind of a peek, but he doesn't look the right way. And NiP once again, by the skin on their teeth, survive the round.
That just looked like a round where the moment got to Wisla a little bit. And they're going for the initial cave control. It's just one man committing early. They didn't have the utility to flush out those angles. They didn't have the players really pushing to trade off the back of each other. If it weren't for Soulbowl, they could have been locked out entirely. At least he got them the chance, the couple of kills. But as you were saying, the lack of utility was so devastating. And now it's a fast pace towards mid. The low buy shut down early.
Nothing they can do. 2 quick kills. This is job done. There should be no more to be said. Sobel, though, does want to have a say in this round. Expects the angle from Rez on the second time of asking. The problem is Goofy. Again, that's bomb. Just lurking in a smoke in mid. All the good work of Sobel undone in an instant. As Estag isolates the bomb. Smoke comes in to just refresh that control. And again, it just goes from bad to worse for Wisla. Sobel and Sparrow trying to salvage the situation. They've got 2 rifles, and Sobel will be able to double his kill count once more. Has been the real shining light, you have to say, from Wisla alongside Jedka. As he buys them a 2-on-3. Again, bomb down is going to be the major issue at this point. There's really nothing they can do except brawl their way through now, Wisla Krakow. Sobel will take the site. But again, another smoke comes in, another 20 seconds where Sparrow will be unsighted, and as Plopsky deals with Sobel, this is another one that falls by the wayside. It's going to be map and match point to NiP unless Sparrow can pull off the impossible. Galil stuck behind this smoke. It just feels like it's going from bad to worse for this T side. There's once again more utility, more firepower, job done.
They made it here from the Polish qualifier, but Wisla need to dig deep to make sure they don't go down into the lower bracket early here in Katowice. It's NiP with a couple of opportunities to close this in regulation. Snatchy is back on the AWP. They have the nades on the majority of the players on the Wisla side, but they've been losing a lot of these early engagements. They've been losing oftentimes quite early in the round. Let's see if that can change for them here. 4 players grouped up to B early. They're going to see if they can set up this pick for Snatchy.
Needs to connect
There's a flag through mid.
Oh, this could be everything, Fuzi. We've seen Snatchy do it. He's going to give it a go himself. The pop flash is good, but Goofy's blinded by it. Fuzi's still lurking, looking and flicking cleanly. That's a huge kill, and he doubles it through the wall. Make it 3, Fuzi! The youngster's doing it.
locking it out. They went 4 to B, and he wants all 4 of them crawling in. He'll finally be put down. But once again, it's just a field day for Fuzi on the AWP. And look at NiP, 3 players charging into the lane. They're not going to give them any room to breathe. Sobble, you've been the hero, but that's enough. 16-12, it will be NiP. A little bit of magic as they get it done here on Ancient.
NiP don't need Device. They've got Fuzi, baby. Closing it out 16-12. Oh, what a play here at the end. Like, the confidence to just repeat constantly. You got